Picture this, a creature so horrifying that its very name sends shivers down the spine of anyone who dares to whisper it. A monstrous being, half human, half horse, with no skin to shield its raw, pulsating muscles from the elements. Its breath reeks of decay, and its eyes burn with a malevolent glow. This is the Nuckelavee, a nightmare brought to life from the darkest corners of Scottish folklore. Known as one of the most feared entities in Celtic mythology, the Nuckelavee is not just a monster, it is a symbol of chaos, destruction, and the untamed forces of nature. In this video, we will journey into the eerie world of Scottish legends to uncover the origins, powers, and chilling tales surrounding this skinless centaur. By the end, you'll understand why the Nuckelavee has haunted the imaginations of generations and why it remains one of the most terrifying figures in ancient mythology. So, if you're ready to face the darkness, let's begin. Now, let's step back in time to uncover where this terrifying creature first emerged. The Nuckelavee's origins are deeply rooted in the folklore of the Orkney and Shetland Islands, remote archipelagos off the northern coast of Scotland. These windswept islands, with their rugged landscapes and harsh climates, have long been fertile ground for tales of the supernatural. It is here, amidst the crashing waves and misty moors, that the legend of the Nuckelavee was born. In Orkney and Shetland folklore, the Nuckelavee is often described as a malevolent spirit or demon, a being that embodies the raw, untamed power of nature. Unlike many other creatures in Celtic mythology, the Nuckelavee is not tied to a specific deity or ancient ritual. Instead, it seems to have emerged from the collective fears of island communities, shaped by their struggles against the elements and the ever-present threat of famine, disease, and storms. Interestingly, the Nuckelavee shares similarities with other creatures in Celtic mythology, particularly those associated with water and destruction. For instance, the Kelpie, a shape-shifting water spirit, is often compared to the Nuckelavee due to its equine features and its connection to bodies of water. However, while the Kelpie is known for luring unsuspecting travelers to their doom, the Nuckelavee is far more destructive, spreading blight, disease, and death wherever it roams. This connection to other mythical beings highlights the Nuckelavee's place within the broader tapestry of Celtic folklore. It serves as a reminder of how ancient cultures used storytelling to explain the unexplainable, attributing natural disasters and epidemics to the wrath of supernatural beings. The Nuckelavee, with its grotesque appearance and fearsome powers, became a symbol of the chaos and unpredictability of the natural world, a world that the people of Orkney and Shetland knew all too well. As we delve deeper into the Nuckelavee's story, we'll see how this creature's origins reflect not only the fears of its time, but also the resilience and creativity of the communities that gave it life. Next, we'll take a closer look at the Nuckelavee's horrifying physical form and how its appearance adds to its terrifying reputation. Now, let's turn our attention to the Nuckelavee's appearance, a sight so horrifying that it has haunted the imaginations of those who dared to describe it. Picture a creature that seems to defy the very laws of nature, a grotesque fusion of man and beast that sends shivers down the spine. The Nuckelavee's most striking feature is its skinless body, a raw, pulsating mass of muscle and sinew that glistens with an unnatural sheen. Every vein, every tendon is exposed, giving it an almost alien appearance that is as unsettling as it is repulsive. Its lower half resembles that of a horse, but this is no ordinary steed. The Nuckelavee's equine torso is massive and powerful, with legs that seem to stretch endlessly, ending in hooves that strike the ground with a thunderous force. Yet, instead of a horse's head, the creature's upper body is disturbingly humanoid. Its torso, arms, and head are unmistakably human, but twisted into a nightmarish form. The arms are unnaturally long, dangling almost to the ground, with clawed fingers that seem ready to tear through flesh and bone. The Nuckelavee's face is perhaps the most terrifying aspect of all. Its eyes burn with a malevolent glow, radiating an intense hatred for all living things. Its mouth is a gaping maw, filled with jagged teeth that seem designed to inflict maximum pain. Some accounts even describe a second mouth on its stomach, adding another layer of horror to its already monstrous form. This horrifying appearance is not just for shock value, it serves a deeper purpose in the folklore. The Nuckelavee's grotesque form is a reflection of its nature as a bringer of chaos and destruction. Its skinless body symbolizes vulnerability and exposure, yet it is anything but weak. Instead, it embodies the raw, unchecked power of the natural world, a force that cannot be tamed or controlled. The Nuckelavee's dual nature, blending human and equine features, also adds to its fearsome reputation. It is a creature that exists between worlds, neither fully man nor fully beast, making it all the more unpredictable and dangerous. This duality serves as a reminder of the thin line between the natural and the supernatural, a line that the Nuckelavee seems to straddle with terrifying ease. As we continue to explore the Nuckelavee's story, we'll see how its horrifying appearance is just the beginning of what makes it one of the most feared creatures in Celtic folklore. Next, we'll delve into the supernatural powers that make the Nuckelavee not just a monster to behold, but a force to be reckoned with. Now, let's take a closer look at the Nuckelavee's dual nature, a feature that makes it one of the most fascinating and terrifying creatures in Celtic folklore. This hybrid form, blending human and equine features, is not just a random combination of traits, it carries deep symbolic meaning. The Nuckelavee's humanoid upper body and horse-like lower half represent a fusion of two worlds, the natural and the supernatural. It's as if this creature exists in a liminal space, embodying the chaos and unpredictability that comes with straddling such boundaries. The human aspect of the Nuckelavee connects it to the world of people, giving it a sense of familiarity that makes its monstrous qualities all the more unsettling. Its humanoid torso, arms, and face suggest intelligence and intent, traits that amplify its capacity for malice. Yet, the equine half ties it to the untamed forces of nature, symbolizing raw power and primal instincts. This duality makes the Nuckelavee a creature of contradictions, both familiar and alien. Intelligent yet savage, a being that defies easy categorization. This blending of human and animal features also serves as a reminder of the thin line between the civilized world and the wild, untamed forces that lie just beyond our understanding. In folklore, such hybrid creatures often act as guardians or warnings, embodying the dangers of crossing into realms we cannot control. The Nuckelavee, with its grotesque form, becomes a living symbol of this boundary, a reminder that the natural world is not always as orderly or predictable as we might like to believe. Moreover, the Nuckelavee's dual nature reflects its role as a harbinger of chaos. It doesn't belong entirely to either world, making it a disruptive force that can bring destruction to both. Its human side allows it to understand and exploit human fears, while its animalistic traits give it the strength and ferocity to act on those fears. This combination makes the Nuckelavee not just a physical threat, but a psychological one as well, capable of sowing terror in ways that go beyond its horrifying appearance. As we move forward, we'll explore how this duality extends to the Nuckelavee's powers and abilities, further cementing its place as one of the most feared figures in Celtic mythology. But for now, it's clear that the Nuckelavee's hybrid form is more than just a visual nightmare. It's a profound symbol of the tension between the known and the unknown, the natural and the supernatural, and the chaos that lies in between. Now, let's delve into the Nuckelavee's supernatural powers, which elevate it from a mere monster to a force of nature itself. This skinless centaur wasn't just feared for its grotesque appearance. It was its terrifying abilities that truly cemented its reputation as a harbinger of destruction. Among its most feared powers was its control over disease. The Nuckelavee was said to spread illness among both humans and livestock, leaving communities devastated in its wake. In a time when plagues and epidemics were poorly understood, the Nuckelavee became a personification of these invisible threats, embodying the fear of sudden, uncontrollable sickness. But its influence didn't stop there. The Nuckelavee also wielded power over the weather, particularly storms. It was believed that this creature could summon violent tempests, unleashing chaos upon the land. For coastal communities in Orkney and Shetland, where storms could mean the difference between survival and ruin, the Nuckelavee's ability to control the skies made it a symbol of nature's unpredictability and wrath. Its storms weren't just destructive, they were seen as deliberate acts of malice, a reminder of the creature's malevolent intent. Perhaps most devastating of all was the Nuckelavee's ability to blight crops. In agrarian societies, a failed harvest could spell disaster, leading to famine and hardship. The Nuckelavee's touch was said to wither plants, turning fertile fields into barren wastelands. This power struck at the very heart of survival, making the creature a tangible threat to entire communities. Its ability to ruin crops wasn't just a physical act, it was a psychological one, instilling a deep sense of helplessness and fear. These powers weren't random acts of destruction, they were deeply symbolic. The Nuckelavee's control over disease, storms, and crops represented its dominion over life's most essential elements: health, safety, and sustenance. By threatening these, the Nuckelavee became a manifestation of humanity's greatest fears: the loss of control, the fragility of life, and the ever-present danger of nature's unpredictability. Its abilities weren't just tools of destruction, they were reminders of the delicate balance between humans and the natural world, and the chaos that could ensue when that balance was disrupted. As we'll see next, even a creature as fearsome as the Nuckelavee had its vulnerabilities, and understanding these weaknesses offers a glimpse into how communities sought to protect themselves from its wrath. But for now, it's clear that the Nuckelavee's powers weren't just about physical destruction. They were about instilling a deep, pervasive fear that lingered long after the creature itself had vanished. Even the most fearsome creatures have their vulnerabilities, and the Nuckelavee is no exception. Despite its terrifying powers, this skinless centaur had a few critical weaknesses that offered a glimmer of hope to those who feared its wrath. One of the most well-known vulnerabilities was its aversion to fresh water. Unlike many other mythical creatures tied to the sea, the Nuckelavee couldn't stand the touch of freshwater streams or rivers. This peculiar weakness became a key tool for communities seeking to protect themselves. It was believed that running water acted as a barrier the creature couldn't cross, making streams and rivers natural defenses against its malevolent presence. Villagers would often position their homes near freshwater sources, creating a safe zone where the Nuckelavee couldn't reach them. Another weakness tied to water was the Nuckelavee's inability to tolerate rain. While it thrived in the salty, briny environment of the sea, fresh rainwater was said to weaken it, forcing the creature to retreat. This belief led to rituals where people would sprinkle fresh water around their homes or carry small containers of it as a protective charm. In some tales, even the sight of a rainstorm was enough to send the Nuckelavee fleeing back to the ocean, its power diminished by the cleansing touch of fresh water. These weaknesses weren't just practical defenses, they carried deep symbolic meaning. Fresh water, often associated with purity and life, stood in stark contrast to the Nuckelavee's association with decay and destruction. Its inability to cross running streams or endure rain highlighted the creature's connection to the chaotic, untamed forces of the sea, while fresh water represented order and safety. This duality reinforced the idea that even the most terrifying forces of nature could be countered by understanding and respecting the natural world. Folklore also tells of other methods used to ward off the Nuckelavee. Some stories suggest that the creature could be repelled by certain plants or herbs, while others claim that loud noises or fire could drive it away. These protective measures, combined with its aversion to fresh water, gave communities a sense of agency in the face of an otherwise overwhelming threat. By exploiting these weaknesses, people could reclaim a measure of control over their lives, turning fear into action. Understanding the Nuckelavee's vulnerabilities not only sheds light on how communities sought to protect themselves, but also reveals the deeper layers of its mythology. These weaknesses weren't just practical tools, they were symbolic reminders of the balance between chaos and order, destruction and renewal. As we'll explore next, the Nuckelavee's prominence in Orkney folklore offers even more insight into how this creature shaped the lives and beliefs of those who lived in its shadow. Turning our attention to the Orkney Islands, the Nuckelavee's presence looms large in the local folklore, where it served as both a source of terror and a powerful cautionary figure. In Orkney, the Nuckelavee wasn't just a mythical creature, it was a tangible threat woven into the fabric of everyday life. Stories of its appearances were passed down through generations, often serving as warnings to those who might stray too far from societal norms or disrespect the natural world. One particularly chilling tale recounts how the Nuckelavee once emerged from the sea during a harsh winter, bringing with it a deadly plague that devastated livestock and left fields barren. According to the legend, the creature's breath was so foul that it poisoned the air, spreading sickness wherever it roamed. This story, like many others, underscored the Nuckelavee's role as a harbinger of disaster, a reminder of the fragile balance between human survival and the unpredictable forces of nature. Another well-known Orkney legend tells of a fisherman who encountered the Nuckelavee while out at sea. Ignoring the warnings of his fellow villagers, he ventured too close to the creature's lair, only to be pursued by the monstrous being. The fisherman barely escaped with his life, but not before the Nuckelavee cursed him with a lingering illness that plagued him for years. This tale served as a stark reminder of the dangers of arrogance and the importance of heeding communal wisdom. In Orkney, the Nuckelavee was often invoked to explain natural disasters, crop failures, or outbreaks of disease. Its presence in these stories wasn't just about fear, it was a way for communities to make sense of the hardships they faced. By attributing these calamities to the Nuckelavee, people could externalize their struggles, transforming abstract fears into a tangible enemy they could confront, even if only through rituals and protective measures. The Nuckelavee's role as a cautionary figure extended beyond its physical threats. Many stories emphasized the moral lessons tied to its appearances. For instance, tales often warned against greed, as the creature was said to target those who took more than their fair share from the land or sea. Others highlighted the importance of respecting boundaries, both physical and spiritual, as the Nuckelavee was known to punish those who trespassed into its domain. These legends weren't just meant to frighten, they were tools for teaching. By embedding moral lessons within the terrifying exploits of the Nuckelavee, Orkney's storytellers ensured that their warnings resonated deeply with their audiences. The creature became a symbol of the consequences of human folly, a reminder that actions had repercussions, often in ways that couldn't be easily undone. As we move forward, we'll explore how the Nuckelavee's influence extended beyond Orkney, shaping the folklore of the Shetland Islands and leaving an indelible mark on the cultural landscape of Scotland. Now, let's journey to the Shetland Islands, where the Nuckelavee's legend takes on a slightly different, yet equally terrifying, form. While the creature's core characteristics remain consistent, its grotesque, skinless appearance and its malevolent nature, the stories from Shetland add unique layers to its mythology, reflecting the distinct fears and experiences of the islanders. In Shetland, the Nuckelavee is often depicted as a more maritime menace, closely tied to the sea and the dangers it holds, unlike in Orkney, where the creature's presence was often linked to agricultural disasters. Shetland's tales frequently emphasize its role as a sea demon. Fishermen, in particular, were said to live in fear of encountering the Nuckelavee while out on the water. One popular legend tells of a crew who spotted the creature rising from the waves during a storm, its massive form casting a shadow over their boat. The men barely escaped, but the encounter left them with a lasting dread of the open sea, a reminder of the Nuckelavee's power over the ocean. Another key difference lies in the creature's relationship with the land. In Shetland, the Nuckelavee was often blamed for coastal erosion and the destruction of fishing gear, reflecting the islanders' reliance on the sea for their livelihood. Stories describe how the creature would emerge from the water at night, wreaking havoc on nets and boats before disappearing back into the depths. These tales served as both explanations for unexplained losses and warnings to respect the sea's unpredictable nature. Interestingly, while the Nuckelavee in Orkney was often seen as a punishment for moral failings, Shetland's folklore sometimes portrays the creature as more indiscriminate in its wrath. It wasn't always tied to human wrongdoing, but instead represented the inherent dangers of the natural world. This shift in focus highlights the different ways communities adapted the Nuckelavee's mythology to reflect their own struggles and environments. Despite these differences, the Nuckelavee's role as a cautionary figure remains consistent across both regions. In Shetland, as in Orkney, the creature was used to teach important lessons about humility, respect for nature, and the consequences of overreaching. For example, one story warns of a fisherman who boasted about his ability to outwit any sea creature. When he encountered the Nuckelavee, his arrogance nearly cost him his life, serving as a stark reminder of the dangers of hubris. As we compare the Nuckelavee's portrayal in Orkney and Shetland, it becomes clear that while the creature's essence remains the same, its stories are deeply rooted in the unique landscapes and livelihoods of each island group. Whether as a bringer of plague on land or a terror of the sea, the Nuckelavee continues to embody the fears and values of the communities that told its tales. Next, we'll delve into the Nuckelavee's connection to disease and how this aspect of its mythology reflects historical fears of epidemics, turning our attention to another chilling aspect of the Nuckelavee's mythology. We find its deep connection to disease and plague. This terrifying creature wasn't just a physical menace. It was also believed to wield the power to spread sickness among both livestock and humans, making it a symbol of devastation in communities already vulnerable to the ravages of illness. In many tales, the Nuckelavee's breath was said to carry a foul, pestilent stench capable of infecting anyone who came too close. Livestock that encountered the creature would often fall ill, their bodies withering away as if cursed. Crops, too, were not spared, with fields turning barren and lifeless in the Nuckelavee's wake. These stories reflect the very real fears of agricultural communities, where the loss of animals or crops could mean the difference between survival and starvation. The Nuckelavee's association with disease also extended to humans. In times of plague or unexplained outbreaks, the creature was often blamed for the suffering. Folklore recounts how entire villages would fall ill after a sighting of the Nuckelavee, with the afflicted experiencing fevers, boils, and other symptoms of pestilence. These tales served as a way to make sense of the inexplicable, offering a tangible explanation for the horrors of epidemics that swept through communities with little warning or understanding. This aspect of the Nuckelavee's mythology is deeply rooted in historical context. During periods when medical knowledge was limited and the causes of disease were poorly understood, people often turned to supernatural explanations. The Nuckelavee, with its grotesque appearance and malevolent nature, became a personification of the invisible threats that plagued their lives. It was a way to give form to the fear of the unknown, transforming the abstract terror of illness into a creature that could, at least in theory, be avoided or appeased. Interestingly, the Nuckelavee's role as a bringer of disease also carried a moral dimension. In some stories, its appearance was seen as a punishment for human wrongdoing, such as greed, neglect of the land, or disrespect for the natural world. This added layer of meaning reinforced the idea that the creature was not just a random force of destruction, but a consequence of moral failings, urging communities to live in harmony with their environment and each other. As we explore this darker side of the Nuckelavee's legend, it becomes clear how deeply intertwined the creature's mythology is with the struggles and fears of the people who told its stories. Whether as a harbinger of plague or a symbol of nature's wrath, the Nuckelavee served as a powerful reminder of humanity's vulnerability in the face of forces beyond its control. Next, we'll examine how the Nuckelavee's connection to natural disasters further cements its place as a figure of both fear and fascination in Celtic folklore. Moving deeper into the Nuckelavee's terrifying legacy, we now turn to its connection with natural disasters. This skinless centaur wasn't just a bringer of disease, it was also seen as a force behind some of the most devastating events in nature. Storms, droughts, and other calamities were often attributed to the Nuckelavee's wrath, making it a symbol of chaos and destruction in the eyes of those who feared it. In the folklore of Orkney and Shetland, the Nuckelavee was said to have the power to summon violent storms, with its presence alone enough to darken the skies and churn the seas. Fishermen and sailors dreaded encountering the creature, believing it could unleash gales and waves capable of sinking ships without warning. These tales reflect the very real dangers faced by coastal communities, where the sea was both a source of livelihood and a constant threat. Droughts, too, were linked to the Nuckelavee's malevolence. In agricultural communities, the creature was blamed for drying up wells and withering crops, leaving the land barren and lifeless. This association highlights the fragility of life in these regions, where even a single season of poor harvests could spell disaster. The Nuckelavee became a scapegoat for the unpredictability of nature, embodying the fear of forces that could not be controlled or understood. Symbolically, the Nuckelavee's connection to natural disasters speaks to humanity's struggle to make sense of the world around it. In an era before modern science, people often turned to mythology to explain the inexplicable. The Nuckelavee, with its grotesque form and destructive powers, became a way to personify the chaos of nature. It was a reminder of humanity's vulnerability in the face of forces far greater than itself, a theme that resonates deeply in Celtic folklore. This association also carried a moral weight. In some stories, the Nuckelavee's appearance during times of disaster was seen as a punishment for human misdeeds, such as greed or disrespect for the natural world. By framing the creature as an agent of divine retribution, these tales reinforced the importance of living in harmony with nature and respecting its power. As we explore this aspect of the Nuckelavee's mythology, it becomes clear how deeply the creature was woven into the fabric of daily life. Whether as a harbinger of storms or a bringer of drought, the Nuckelavee served as a powerful symbol of the unpredictable and often destructive forces of nature. Next, we'll delve into how this fearsome figure influenced agricultural folklore, shaping the way communities understood and interacted with the land around them. Turning our attention to the fields and farms, the Nuckelavee's influence extended far beyond storms and droughts. In the agricultural communities of Orkney and Shetland, this monstrous figure was feared as a bringer of blight and ruin. Farmers lived in constant dread of the Nuckelavee's ability to destroy their crops, leaving their fields barren and their livelihoods in jeopardy. The creature's association with crop failure was deeply rooted in the harsh realities of farming life. In these regions, where the soil was often thin and the climate unforgiving, a single bad harvest could mean the difference between survival and starvation. The Nuckelavee became a personification of these struggles, a terrifying explanation for why crops withered or why livestock fell ill. Its grotesque form and malevolent nature made it the perfect scapegoat for the unpredictable challenges of agriculture. Stories often described the Nuckelavee as a nocturnal menace, creeping through fields under the cover of darkness to spread disease and decay. Its breath was said to carry a foul stench that could poison plants and animals alike, while its very presence was believed to taint the land. These tales served as both a warning and a way to make sense of the hardships faced by farming communities. By attributing their misfortunes to the Nuckelavee, people could externalize their fears and frustrations, giving them a tangible enemy to blame. But the Nuckelavee's role in agricultural folklore wasn't just about fear. It also carried a moral lesson. Many stories suggested that the creature's wrath was provoked by human actions, such as neglecting the land or failing to honor ancient traditions. In this way, the Nuckelavee became a symbol of the consequences of disrespecting nature. Farmers were reminded to care for their fields, to respect the cycles of the seasons, and to live in harmony with the environment. This connection between the Nuckelavee and agriculture highlights the creature's dual role in folklore. On one hand, it was a terrifying force of destruction, a reminder of the fragility of life in these rural communities. On the other, it was a teacher, imparting lessons about responsibility and respect for the natural world. These stories not only shaped how people understood their struggles, but also reinforced the values that helped them endure. As we move forward, we'll explore how these fears and lessons translated into real-world practices as communities developed ways to protect themselves from the Nuckelavee's wrath. From rituals to remedies, the fight against this skinless centaur became a central part of life in the fields and farms of Orkney and Shetland. Now, let's delve into the chilling tales of those who claimed to have encountered the Nuckelavee. These stories, passed down through generations, paint a vivid picture of the terror this creature inspired. One such account tells of a farmer who, while returning home late one evening, stumbled upon the Nuckelavee near a desolate stretch of coastline. The farmer described the creature's skinless body glistening in the moonlight, its horse-like legs pounding the ground as it let out a deafening roar. Overcome with fear, the man barely escaped with his life, later recounting how the air around the Nuckelavee seemed to grow heavy and foul, as if the very earth rejected its presence. Another tale speaks of a group of fishermen who encountered the Nuckelavee during a storm. As they struggled to navigate the rough seas, the creature emerged from the waves, its humanoid torso twisted in a grotesque manner. The fishermen claimed that the Nuckelavee's eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and its breath carried a stench so vile that it made them retch. They managed to steer their boat to safety, but not before one of them fell ill, a sickness that lingered for weeks. This story, like many others, served as a stark warning to avoid the sea during storms. When the Nuckelavee was said to be most active, these encounters weren't just isolated incidents. They were woven into the fabric of local folklore as cautionary tales. Parents would recount them to their children, warning them to stay indoors after dark or to avoid certain areas known to be haunted by the creature. The Nuckelavee became a symbol of the dangers that lurked in the unknown, a reminder that the natural world was not always benevolent. These stories also reinforced the idea that some places were inherently dangerous, imbued with a malevolent energy that could only be attributed to the Nuckelavee's influence. Interestingly, many of these tales also carried a moral undertone. They often suggested that those who encountered the Nuckelavee had somehow provoked its wrath, whether by trespassing on forbidden land or failing to show proper respect for the natural world. In this way, the stories served not only as warnings but also as lessons in humility and reverence for the forces of nature. The Nuckelavee, in all its horror, became a teacher, reminding people of the consequences of arrogance and carelessness. As we continue, we'll explore how these encounters shaped the daily lives of those who lived in fear of the Nuckelavee, influencing everything from their routines to their rituals. The creature's presence was not just a source of terror, but also a catalyst for cultural practices designed to keep it at bay. Moving deeper into the lore, we find that the Nuckelavee's presence was not constant, but tied closely to the rhythms of the seasons. It was believed that the creature was most active during specific times of the year, particularly in the harsh winter months and during the harvest season. These periods, already fraught with challenges for rural communities, became even more ominous with the threat of the Nuckelavee's wrath. In winter, when the days were short and the nights long, the Nuckelavee was said to roam freely, its grotesque form blending with the darkness. The cold, barren landscape seemed to amplify its malevolence, and stories often described how the creature would emerge from the sea during storms, bringing with it a wave of destruction. Farmers and fishermen took extra precautions during this time, avoiding the coastline and staying indoors after sunset. The Nuckelavee's winter activity was not just a source of fear, but also a reminder of nature's unforgiving power during the coldest months. The harvest season, on the other hand, brought a different kind of dread. As communities worked tirelessly to gather their crops, the Nuckelavee was believed to target fields and livestock, spreading blight and disease. This connection to agriculture made the creature a symbol of unpredictability and loss, as a single encounter could ruin an entire year's labor. To protect their livelihoods, people developed rituals and practices aimed at appeasing or warding off the Nuckelavee. These included offerings of fresh water, which the creature was said to despise, and the avoidance of certain areas known to be its hunting grounds. This seasonal activity also reflected the broader anxieties of rural life. The Nuckelavee's presence during critical times of the year underscored the fragility of human efforts in the face of natural forces. It served as a stark reminder that even the most carefully tended fields and herds were vulnerable to the whims of the supernatural. The creature's timing was no coincidence. It mirrored the cycles of life and death, growth and decay, that governed the lives of those who depended on the land. By tying the Nuckelavee's activity to the seasons, folklore not only explained the creature's behavior, but also reinforced the importance of respecting nature's rhythms. It was a way of acknowledging the limits of human control and the need for humility in the face of forces beyond comprehension. As we'll see next, this connection to the natural world extended even further, shaping the way people interacted with their environment and the stories they told about it. The Nuckelavee's relationship with water is as paradoxical as the creature itself, embodying both its strength and its greatest vulnerability. Emerging from the depths of the sea, the Nuckelavee was often depicted as a force of chaos, its power deeply intertwined with the ocean's unpredictable nature. Folklore tells of how the creature would rise from the waves during storms, its skinless form glistening with seawater as it brought destruction to coastal communities. The sea, in this context, was not just its home but also the source of its malevolence, amplifying its ability to spread fear and devastation. Yet, for all its connection to water as a source of power, the Nuckelavee also harbored a profound weakness to it. Fresh water, in particular, was said to be its bane. Stories recount how the creature would avoid rivers, streams, and even rain, as if the purity of fresh water could somehow neutralize its dark energy. This vulnerability became a key element in the strategies people used to protect themselves. Farmers would place bowls of fresh water near their homes, and travelers would carry flasks to ward off the creature. The belief was that the Nuckelavee could not cross running water, making streams and rivers natural barriers against its wrath. This duality, water as both a source of power and a weakness, reflects the broader themes of balance and contradiction in the Nuckelavee's mythology. The sea, often seen as a symbol of life and abundance, becomes a harbinger of death and destruction in the creature's hands. Conversely, fresh water, typically associated with cleansing and renewal, takes on a protective role, offering a rare means of defense against the Nuckelavee's terror. This interplay between opposing forces underscores the creature's role as a liminal being, existing at the boundary between the natural and supernatural worlds. The Nuckelavee's complex relationship with water also mirrors the realities of life in coastal and rural communities. For those who lived by the sea, water was both a source of sustenance and a constant threat. Storms could destroy crops, floods could ruin homes, and the ocean's depths held mysteries that inspired both awe and fear. The Nuckelavee, with its dual nature, became a personification of these contradictions, embodying the delicate balance between survival and vulnerability that defined life in these regions. As we delve further into the Nuckelavee's mythology, we'll explore how this connection to water influenced the rituals and beliefs of those who feared it, shaping the ways in which they sought to protect themselves from its malevolent influence. Turning now to the ways people sought to protect themselves from the Nuckelavee, we find a fascinating blend of practicality and superstition. One of the most common methods was the use of fresh water, which, as we've seen, was believed to be the creature's greatest weakness. Villagers would often place bowls or jugs of fresh water near their doorways or carry small flasks when traveling. the idea was simple yet deeply symbolic. Freshwater represented purity and renewal, qualities that stood in stark contrast to the Nuckelavee's chaotic and destructive nature. By surrounding themselves with this protective element, people felt they could create a barrier against the creature's malevolence. Another widely practiced measure was the avoidance of certain areas, particularly those near the sea or remote, desolate places where the Nuckelavee was said to roam. Folklore warned against venturing out during storms or at night, times when the creature was believed to be most active. These warnings weren't just about fear, they were rooted in a deep understanding of the natural world and its dangers. Coastal communities, in particular, knew all too well the risks of the sea, and the Nuckelavee became a personification of those dangers, a reminder to respect the power of nature. In some stories, specific rituals were performed to keep the Nuckelavee at bay. For instance, farmers would sometimes sprinkle fresh water around their fields or homes, creating a symbolic boundary that the creature could not cross. Others would recite prayers or charms, invoking divine protection against the monster. These practices highlight the intersection of folklore and spirituality, where the lines between myth and faith often blurred. The Nuckelavee wasn't just a physical threat, it was a spiritual one, and the measures taken to ward it off reflected a desire to restore balance and harmony in the face of chaos. Interestingly, some tales suggest that the Nuckelavee could be driven away by the sound of certain words or names. While the specifics of these incantations have been lost to time, the underlying belief was that language itself held power, a power that could be harnessed to confront even the most fearsome of creatures. This idea speaks to the broader role of storytelling in folklore, where words and narratives were not just entertainment, but tools for understanding and controlling the world. These protective measures, though varied, all share a common thread. They reflect the ingenuity and resilience of the communities that created them. Faced with the terrifying unknown, people turned to the resources they had: water, knowledge of the land, and the power of belief to defend themselves. In doing so, they transformed their fear into a form of empowerment, crafting stories and practices that not only kept the Nuckelavee at bay, but also reinforced their connection to the natural and spiritual worlds. As we move forward, we'll explore how the Nuckelavee's influence extended beyond folklore, shaping art, literature, and even modern interpretations of horror. But for now, it's worth reflecting on how these ancient protective measures reveal the enduring human desire to confront and overcome the forces of darkness, no matter how terrifying they may seem. Shifting our focus to the realm of art and literature, the Nuckelavee's haunting presence has left an indelible mark on creative expression. Over the centuries, this fearsome creature has transcended its origins in folklore, becoming a symbol of terror and fascination in various forms of media. In traditional Scottish art, the Nuckelavee was often depicted in vivid, grotesque detail, its skinless form and monstrous features serving as a visual representation of chaos and destruction. These early portrayals were not just artistic endeavors, but also a way to communicate the creature's mythic power to those who might never hear the tales firsthand. As literature began to embrace folklore, the Nuckelavee found its way into poems, ballads, and stories, often serving as a cautionary figure or a metaphor for the untamed forces of nature. Writers drew on its fearsome reputation to evoke a sense of dread, weaving its image into narratives that explored themes of fear, survival, and the human struggle against the unknown. In these works, the Nuckelavee was more than a monster. It was a reflection of the anxieties and challenges faced by the communities that first told its story. In modern times, the Nuckelavee has continued to captivate audiences, evolving into a cultural icon that resonates far beyond its Scottish roots. Contemporary artists and authors have reimagined the creature, blending its traditional traits with new interpretations that reflect modern fears and interests. In graphic novels and fantasy literature, the Nuckelavee often appears as a formidable antagonist, its hybrid form and supernatural abilities making it a compelling figure in stories of adventure and horror. These adaptations highlight the creature's versatility, proving that its appeal lies not just in its terrifying appearance, but also in its rich symbolic potential. The Nuckelavee has also made its way into film and television, where its eerie presence adds depth to horror and fantasy genres. Whether portrayed as a literal monster or a metaphorical embodiment of fear, the creature's influence is undeniable. Its ability to adapt to different mediums speaks to the enduring power of folklore, showing how ancient myths can be reshaped to resonate with contemporary audiences. Beyond entertainment, the Nuckelavee has become a subject of academic interest, with scholars examining its role in cultural history and its significance as a symbol of humanity's relationship with nature. This scholarly attention has further cemented the creature's status as a cultural icon, ensuring that its legacy continues to be explored and appreciated. As we consider the Nuckelavee's journey from folklore to modern media, it's clear that this skinless centaur is more than just a monster of legend. It is a testament to the enduring power of storytelling, a figure that has evolved to reflect the fears, hopes, and imaginations of each generation. Next, we'll delve into how the Nuckelavee has inspired modern horror, shaping the way we think about monsters and the unknown. Turning our attention to the realm of modern horror, the Nuckelavee's influence is unmistakable. This skinless centaur of Scottish folklore has inspired countless creators, leaving its mark on books, films, and video games. Its grotesque appearance and terrifying abilities make it a natural fit for horror, where it continues to haunt audiences in new and imaginative ways. In literature, the Nuckelavee has become a source of inspiration for authors crafting tales of terror. Its hybrid form and association with disease and destruction have been reimagined in novels and short stories, often serving as a metaphor for humanity's deepest fears. Writers draw on its mythic roots to create monsters that are both familiar and unsettling, blending its traditional traits with modern twists. These stories often explore themes of survival, the fragility of life, and the consequences of tampering with forces beyond human control. By adapting the Nuckelavee's legend, authors keep its spirit alive while introducing it to new generations of readers. The creature's impact extends to the world of cinema, where its eerie presence has been brought to life on the big screen. Filmmakers have used the Nuckelavee as a template for designing terrifying antagonists, often emphasizing its skinless, skeletal form to evoke visceral reactions. In horror movies, the creature's ability to spread disease and cause natural disasters has been reinterpreted to reflect contemporary anxieties, such as pandemics and environmental collapse. These adaptations highlight the Nuckelavee's versatility, proving that its mythic power can be reshaped to resonate with modern audiences. Video games have also embraced the Nuckelavee, incorporating it into immersive worlds where players must confront its horrors firsthand. In these interactive experiences, the creature often serves as a formidable boss or a lurking threat, its supernatural abilities challenging players to outwit or outlast it. Game designers draw on its folklore origins to create rich, atmospheric settings that evoke the same sense of dread found in traditional tales. By placing the Nuckelavee in these digital landscapes, they ensure that its legacy continues to thrive in a medium that thrives on fear and suspense. Beyond its direct appearances, the Nuckelavee has influenced the broader horror genre by shaping how we think about monsters. Its dual nature, blending human and animal traits, has inspired the creation of other hybrid creatures that blur the line between the familiar and the grotesque. Similarly, its association with natural disasters and disease has informed the development of horror narratives that explore humanity's vulnerability to forces beyond its control. In this way, the Nuckelavee's influence extends far beyond its own legend, shaping the very fabric of modern horror. As we explore the Nuckelavee's role in contemporary storytelling, it's clear that this ancient creature remains as relevant as ever. Its ability to adapt to new mediums and reflect modern fears ensures that it will continue to captivate and terrify audiences for years to come. Next, we'll compare the Nuckelavee to other mythological creatures, examining what sets it apart in the world of folklore. Now, let's take a closer look at how the Nuckelavee stands alongside other legendary creatures from mythologies around the world. While it shares some similarities with beings like the Kelpie and the centaur, its unique traits make it a truly distinct figure in the realm of folklore. The Kelpie, for instance, is another creature from Scottish mythology, often depicted as a shape-shifting water spirit that takes the form of a horse. Like the Nuckelavee, the Kelpie is associated with bodies of water and is known for its malevolent nature. However, while the Kelpie lures its victims to a watery grave, the Nuckelavee's terror is far more visceral. Its skinless, grotesque appearance and its ability to spread disease and destruction set it apart as a creature of pure horror, rather than one that relies on deception or allure. Similarly, the centaur from Greek mythology shares the Nuckelavee's hybrid form, blending human and equine features. But here, the similarities end. Centaurs are often portrayed as wise, noble beings, or at times, as wild and unruly, but they rarely evoke the same level of dread as the Nuckelavee. The Nuckelavee's lack of skin, its connection to natural disasters, and its role as a harbinger of plague make it a far more menacing figure, one that embodies chaos and fear in a way that the centaur does not. Another creature worth comparing is the banshee from Irish folklore. While the banshee is a harbinger of death, her role is more symbolic, wailing to forewarn of impending doom. The Nuckelavee, on the other hand, is an active agent of destruction, bringing death and devastation directly to those who cross its path. This proactive nature, combined with its horrifying appearance, makes the Nuckelavee a uniquely terrifying figure in the pantheon of mythological creatures. What truly sets the Nuckelavee apart, however, is its dual nature as both a physical and symbolic threat. Unlike many other mythological beings, it doesn't just represent danger, it embodies it. Its grotesque form serves as a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the power of nature, while its abilities to spread disease and cause natural disasters tie it directly to the fears and struggles of the communities that first told its stories. As we move forward, we'll explore the deeper symbolism behind the Nuckelavee, uncovering what this fearsome creature represents in the broader context of Celtic folklore and human imagination. Now, let's delve into the deeper layers of meaning behind the Nuckelavee, uncovering the symbolism that makes this creature more than just a figure of terror. At its core, the Nuckelavee represents the untamed and unpredictable forces of nature. Its grotesque, skinless form is a stark reminder of the raw, unfiltered power that lies beyond human control. In a world where communities relied heavily on the land and sea for survival, the Nuckelavee embodied the chaos that could strike at any moment, whether through devastating storms, failed crops, or deadly plagues. The Nuckelavee's connection to disease and natural disasters further cements its role as a symbol of fear. For the people of Orkney and Shetland, who lived in close harmony with their environment, the creature served as a personification of the dangers they faced daily. Its ability to spread illness among livestock and humans mirrored the very real threats of epidemics that could wipe out entire communities. In this way, the Nuckelavee became a tangible representation of the anxieties and vulnerabilities of rural life. But the Nuckelavee's symbolism goes even deeper. Its dual nature, part human, part horse, reflects the tension between civilization and the wild. The humanoid upper half suggests a connection to humanity, while the equine lower half ties it to the untamed natural world. This duality underscores the fragile balance between order and chaos, reminding us that even the most controlled aspects of life are never fully safe from the unpredictable forces of nature. Moreover, the Nuckelavee's aversion to fresh water adds another layer of meaning. Water, often seen as a life-giving force, becomes a boundary that the creature cannot cross. This weakness symbolizes the limits of chaos and destruction, suggesting that even the most fearsome forces have their boundaries. It also reflects the resilience of communities who found ways to protect themselves by understanding and respecting the natural world. In the broader context of Celtic folklore, the Nuckelavee serves as a cautionary figure, warning against the dangers of hubris and the consequences of disrespecting nature. Its stories were not just meant to frighten, but to teach valuable lessons about humility, respect, and the importance of living in harmony with the environment. As we continue, we'll explore how these symbolic themes have influenced local traditions and storytelling practices, keeping the Nuckelavee's legacy alive in Scottish culture. Now, let's turn our attention to how the Nuckelavee has woven itself into the fabric of local traditions and storytelling practices across Scotland. This fearsome creature isn't just a figure of myth. It has become a living part of the cultural identity of communities, particularly in Orkney and Shetland. Through festivals, oral storytelling, and even artistic expressions, the Nuckelavee continues to hold a unique place in the hearts and minds of the people. In Orkney, for example, the Nuckelavee often features in seasonal celebrations and folk tales, especially during the darker months of the year. These stories are not just told for entertainment, but serve as a way to pass down wisdom and cautionary lessons from one generation to the next. During festivals, storytellers might recount tales of the Nuckelavee's wrath, emphasizing the importance of respecting nature and heeding the warnings of the past. These narratives are often accompanied by traditional music and dance, creating a vivid, immersive experience that keeps the legend alive. Similarly, in Shetland, the Nuckelavee has become a symbol of resilience and community strength. Local artists and craftsmen frequently depict the creature in their work, from intricate carvings to dramatic paintings. These artistic representations often highlight the Nuckelavee's dual nature, blending beauty and horror to reflect the complex relationship between humans and the natural world. In some communities, the Nuckelavee even appears in seasonal plays or reenactments, where actors bring the creature to life, reminding audiences of its enduring presence in their cultural heritage. Beyond festivals and art, the Nuckelavee has also found its way into modern storytelling practices. Writers and filmmakers have drawn inspiration from its haunting imagery, using it as a metaphor for environmental destruction or the consequences of human arrogance. This modern reinterpretation ensures that the Nuckelavee remains relevant, bridging the gap between ancient folklore and contemporary concerns. The enduring cultural significance of the Nuckelavee lies in its ability to adapt and evolve while staying rooted in tradition. It serves as a reminder of the power of storytelling to preserve history, teach lessons, and foster a sense of community. As we move forward, we'll explore how this legendary figure has influenced moral lessons and shaped the values of those who keep its stories alive. Moving deeper into the Nuckelavee's significance, we find that this fearsome creature wasn't just a source of terror, it was also a powerful tool for teaching moral lessons. In the folklore of Orkney and Shetland, the Nuckelavee often served as a cautionary figure, embodying the consequences of human misdeeds. Stories about the creature were crafted not only to frighten, but also to instill values and guide behavior within the community. One of the most common themes in these tales is the danger of greed. The Nuckelavee was often portrayed as a punishment for those who took more than their fair share from the land or sea. For instance, fishermen who overharvested or farmers who exploited the soil without giving back to nature might find themselves facing the wrath of the Nuckelavee. These stories reinforced the idea that balance and respect for the environment were essential for survival, a lesson that resonates even more strongly in today's world. Another key moral lesson tied to the Nuckelavee is the importance of respecting societal taboos. In many tales, the creature appears when people break sacred rules or ignore warnings passed down through generations. For example, venturing into forbidden areas or disrespecting ancient traditions could summon the Nuckelavee's fury. These narratives served as a reminder that certain boundaries, whether cultural or natural, should not be crossed lightly. The Nuckelavee also symbolized the consequences of arrogance and hubris. In some stories, individuals who believed they could outsmart or overpower the creature often met grim fates. These tales emphasized humility and the understanding that humans are not always the masters of their environment. By portraying the Nuckelavee as an unstoppable force, storytellers underscored the importance of living in harmony with the world around us. Interestingly, the Nuckelavee's role as a moral teacher extended beyond individual behavior to the collective responsibility of the community. Many stories highlighted how the actions of one person could bring disaster upon an entire village, reinforcing the idea that everyone had a role to play in maintaining balance and order. This collective aspect of the Nuckelavee's mythology made it a powerful tool for fostering unity and shared values. As we reflect on these moral lessons, it's clear that the Nuckelavee was more than just a monster. It was a mirror reflecting the fears, values, and wisdom of the communities that told its stories. By weaving these lessons into their folklore, the people of Orkney and Shetland ensured that the Nuckelavee's legacy would endure not only as a figure of fear, but also as a guide for living a balanced and respectful life. Next, we'll delve into the Nuckelavee's connection to the sea, exploring how its maritime ties shaped its role in coastal folklore and the fears of those who lived by the water. Turning our attention to the Nuckelavee's connection to the sea, we uncover a fascinating layer of its mythology that ties it deeply to the maritime world. For the coastal communities of Orkney and Shetland, the ocean was both a source of life and a realm of danger, and the Nuckelavee embodied this duality in terrifying fashion. Often described as a sea demon or spirit, the creature's presence was believed to emerge from the depths, bringing with it the unpredictable wrath of the waters. The Nuckelavee's association with the sea is rooted in its ability to control storms and tidal forces. Fishermen and sailors feared encountering the creature, as its appearance was said to herald violent tempests or sudden, deadly waves. This connection made the Nuckelavee a symbol of the ocean's uncontrollable power, a reminder that even the most experienced seafarers were at the mercy of nature. Stories of the creature's destructive influence served as warnings to respect the sea's might and to never take its bounty for granted. In addition to its role as a harbinger of storms, the Nuckelavee was also linked to the mysterious and often treacherous nature of coastal waters. Its skinless, grotesque form was said to rise from the waves, haunting shorelines and instilling fear in those who lived nearby. This imagery reflected the anxieties of coastal communities who relied on the sea for their livelihoods but were constantly aware of its dangers. The Nuckelavee became a personification of the ocean's darker side, a force that could turn from provider to destroyer in an instant. Interestingly, the creature's maritime ties also extended to its weaknesses. As we've discussed earlier, the Nuckelavee was unable to cross running water, a trait that further emphasized its connection to the sea. This vulnerability was often exploited in folklore, with communities using streams or rivers as natural barriers to protect themselves from the creature's wrath. This interplay between the Nuckelavee's power and its limitations highlighted the delicate balance coastal communities sought to maintain with their environment. The Nuckelavee's role as a sea demon also reflected broader cultural beliefs about the ocean as a realm of the unknown. In a time when the sea was both a lifeline and a source of mystery, the creature served as a way to explain the unexplainable, whether it was a sudden storm, a failed fishing expedition, or an unexplained illness among livestock. By attributing these events to the Nuckelavee, communities could make sense of their fears and find ways to cope with the uncertainties of life by the water. As we explore the Nuckelavee's maritime connections, it becomes clear that this creature was more than just a monster. It was a reflection of the deep-seated fears and respect coastal communities held for the sea. Its stories not only warned of the ocean's dangers, but also reinforced the importance of living in harmony with its unpredictable nature. Next, we'll trace how the Nuckelavee's portrayal has evolved over time, from a feared monster of folklore to a subject of fascination in modern culture. Shifting our focus to the Nuckelavee's transformation through the ages, we see a fascinating journey from a figure of terror to one of intrigue. Over the centuries, the Nuckelavee's image has evolved, shaped by changing cultural attitudes, storytelling traditions, and the influence of modern media. Once a dreaded monster that haunted the imaginations of coastal communities, the creature has gradually become a subject of fascination, its legend adapted and reinterpreted for new audiences. In its earliest depictions, the Nuckelavee was a symbol of primal fear, embodying the dangers of the natural world. For the people of Orkney and Shetland, the creature was a very real threat, a manifestation of the unpredictable forces that governed their lives. Its grotesque appearance and destructive powers made it a cautionary figure, a reminder of the consequences of disrespecting nature or venturing too far into the unknown. These stories were passed down through generations, preserving the Nuckelavee's role as a fearsome entity. However, as time went on, the Nuckelavee began to take on new meanings. With the rise of written literature and the spread of folklore beyond local communities, the creature's legend began to reach wider audiences. Writers and scholars started to document these tales, often adding their own interpretations or embellishments. This shift allowed the Nuckelavee to transcend its origins, becoming a part of a broader cultural tapestry. No longer confined to the shores of Orkney and Shetland, the creature began to appear in collections of Scottish and Celtic mythology, where it was often compared to other mythical beings like the Kelpie or the Banshee. the 19th and 20th centuries saw further changes in how the Nuckelavee was perceived, as industrialization and scientific advancements reduced the immediacy of natural threats. The creature's role as a harbinger of doom began to fade. Instead, it became a subject of curiosity, a relic of a bygone era when the world was filled with mystery and danger. Folklorists and historians took an interest in the Nuckelavee, studying its origins and significance within the context of Scottish culture. This academic attention helped to preserve the creature's legacy, even as its fearsome reputation softened. In modern times, the Nuckelavee has found new life in popular culture. Its striking appearance and eerie backstory have made it a compelling figure in books, films, and video games. Contemporary storytellers often reimagine the creature, blending traditional elements with modern themes to create fresh interpretations. For example, in some works, the Nuckelavee is portrayed as a tragic figure, a misunderstood being cursed by its own nature. In others, it remains a terrifying antagonist, a reminder of the darker side of folklore. These adaptations have introduced the Nuckelavee to audiences who may have never heard of it before, ensuring its continued relevance in the 21st century. Several factors have contributed to this evolution. The decline of superstition and the rise of rationalism played a significant role as people began to view the Nuckelavee more as a cultural artifact than a literal threat. The global spread of folklore through books, television, and the internet has also allowed the creature's legend to reach new audiences who bring their own perspectives and interpretations. Additionally, the enduring appeal of mythology in modern storytelling has ensured that figures like the Nuckelavee remain a source of inspiration for creators across various media. As we reflect on the Nuckelavee's journey through time, it's clear that this creature is more than just a monster. It's a living part of cultural history. Its evolution reflects the changing ways in which we understand and engage with the world around us, from the fears of our ancestors to the creative explorations of today. Next, we'll delve into the Nuckelavee's lasting legacy in Scottish culture, examining how its stories continue to shape local traditions and identity. Turning our attention to the Nuckelavee's enduring legacy, it's remarkable to see how this once dreaded creature has woven itself into the fabric of Scottish culture. Far from being forgotten, the Nuckelavee has become a symbol of the rich storytelling traditions that define Scotland's heritage. Its tales, passed down through generations, serve as a bridge between the past and the present, keeping ancient folklore alive in the hearts and minds of modern audiences. In many ways, the Nuckelavee has become a cultural touchstone, a reminder of the power of myth to shape identity. For the people of Orkney and Shetland, the creature is more than just a figure of legend, it's a part of their shared history. Stories of the Nuckelavee are often told during local gatherings, festivals, and storytelling events, where they serve as a way to connect with ancestral roots. These narratives are not just entertainment, they are a means of preserving a way of life that has been shaped by the land, the sea, and the mysteries that lie between. Beyond its role in local traditions, the Nuckelavee has also influenced broader Scottish identity. As a symbol of the untamed forces of nature, the creature embodies the resilience and resourcefulness of the Scottish people. Its stories reflect the challenges faced by coastal communities, from harsh weather to the unpredictability of the sea. By embracing the Nuckelavee as part of their cultural heritage, Scots have found a way to honor their history while also celebrating their ability to endure and adapt. The Nuckelavee's influence extends beyond folklore into art, literature, and even tourism. artists and writers continue to draw inspiration from its haunting image, creating works that explore its themes of fear, survival, and the unknown. In recent years, the creature has also become a draw for visitors to Scotland, with guided tours and exhibitions dedicated to its legend. This renewed interest has helped to keep the Nuckelavee relevant, ensuring that its stories continue to be told and retold. Perhaps most importantly, the Nuckelavee serves as a reminder of the importance of storytelling in preserving culture. In a world that is increasingly dominated by technology and rapid change, the tales of the Nuckelavee offer a connection to a simpler, more mysterious time. They remind us of the power of imagination and the enduring appeal of the unknown. By keeping these stories alive, we not only honor the past, but also enrich the present, ensuring that future generations can continue to find meaning and inspiration in the legends of their ancestors. As we conclude our exploration of the Nuckelavee, it's clear that this creature is more than just a figure of myth. It's a living part of Scottish culture. Its legacy is a testament to the enduring power of folklore to shape identity, inspire creativity, and connect us to the world around us. Whether as a cautionary tale, a source of artistic inspiration, or a symbol of resilience, the Nuckelavee continues to leave its mark on the cultural landscape of Scotland, proving that even the most fearsome legends can have a lasting and meaningful impact. As we bring our journey through the haunting tales of the Nuckelavee to a close, it's worth reflecting on the profound impact this creature has had on Celtic folklore and Scottish culture. From its origins in the windswept islands of Orkney and Shetland to its role as a symbol of nature's untamed power, the Nuckelavee stands as a testament to the enduring allure of myth. Its grotesque appearance, fearsome abilities, and complex relationship with humanity have made it one of the most captivating figures in Scottish legend. The Nuckelavee's stories are more than just tales of terror. They are windows into the lives and beliefs of the people who first told them. Through its association with disease, natural disasters, and agricultural struggles, the creature reflects the challenges faced by coastal communities and their deep connection to the land and sea. Its weaknesses, such as its aversion to fresh water, reveal the ingenuity of those who sought to protect themselves from its wrath, while its seasonal activity ties it to the rhythms of rural life. Beyond its role in folklore, the Nuckelavee has become a cultural icon, inspiring artists, writers, and storytellers across generations. Its influence can be seen in modern horror, where its themes of fear and survival continue to resonate. Yet, at its core, the Nuckelavee remains a uniquely Scottish figure, a reminder of the power of storytelling to preserve history, teach lessons, and connect us to our roots. So, what does the Nuckelavee mean for us today? In a world that often feels disconnected from the mysteries of the past, this skinless centaur invites us to explore the rich tapestry of Scottish mythology and the timeless truths it holds. Whether you're drawn to its chilling tales or its symbolic significance, the Nuckelavee offers a glimpse into a world where myth and reality intertwine. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the legend of the Nuckelavee, why not explore more of Scotland's fascinating folklore? From Kelpies to Selkies, the stories of this ancient land are filled with wonder, danger, and wisdom. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to join us on more adventures into the world of mythology. Until next time, keep the stories alive and let the legends guide your imagination.